Back in December of 2018, I did a video regarding a man that went out dancing with his wife, and he happened to stop in a bad neighborhood, and some panhandlers walked up to his car, end up robbing his wife, and then stabbing his wife to death. Do you guys remember that story? I made a video. I'm going to put the link to that video on the bottom, and I want you guys to check it out. Now, this is an update, and you see the heading said breaking. Police, husband, not panhandler, killed woman in Baltimore. I told you. I said in that video that the husband, it was a hit, and the husband set that up because it made no sense to me that this man could sit there and watch his wife get robbed and stabbed to death and he do nothing about it. And he stood there long enough for the panhandler to allegedly say, "Have a blessed night." Do you remember that story? I knew something was up with that, and I knew that was a hit by the husband. He set her up. Now, it's interesting that when you look in the picture, and there's like quite a few pictures on the internet with he and his wife, and they're hugged up and they're smiling and they look like they're happy. See, a lot of times people look like they're happy and they're miserable. They put on fronts. And usually when people are not real with themselves, when people are not real with their relationships, things like this happen. Either the husband will set the wife up or the wife will set the husband up. So it's important to be real with your feelings and with your relationship, because when you give a certain image to the world that you're happy and that you're hugged up and you're smiling, but in reality you're miserable, again, things like this could happen. So I'm going to put this article and I'm going to put that video on the bottom and you guys can feedback. Now, the article reads, a Maryland woman whose death last year was blamed on an attack by a panhandler was actually killed by her husband and his adult daughter, police said Sunday. Keith Smith, 52, had told police that his wife, Jacqueline, an engineer from Hartford County, was trying to give money to a panhandler at a traffic light when she was robbed and fatally stabbed. Her death attracted national attention and prompted many to regard panhandlers warily. Even Oprah Winfrey, whose early career included several years covering Baltimore news, commented that she would think twice about giving to panhandlers after reading about Jacqueline's death. Now, I don't give to panhandlers anyway, okay? So there's really no need for any type of advice or warning to not give to panhandlers. I just don't do it because I personally don't trust people. It says, but at a news conference Sunday, Police Commissioner Michael Harrison said the panhandler story is not true. He announced first-degree murder charges against Keith Smith and his daughter, Valeria Smith, 28. Both were arrested in Arlington, Texas, near the Mexico border. Harrison said the two were preparing to leave the country. Now, from what I understand, from what I've heard, this is his alleged stepdaughter. It almost sounds like he and his stepdaughter got a relationship going on, or had a relationship going on, and they had to get the wife out of the way. Now, I'm not sure if there is any insurance money that was involved, because the woman was an engineer, so she had a pretty good job. So I'm wondering if she had money saved up, a 401k plan, or some type of insurance, and they decided to take the money and run. So while she was at work, they were doing what they did best, sleeping with each other. And why would they leave the country together, heading towards Mexico? It sounds like they were in a relationship and they needed to get rid of the wife to be able to live their so-called happily ever after relationship, which it turned out not to be so happy. And if they did the murder, why did they wait so long to leave? Unless, of course, they were waiting for the insurance policy. Now, there's a lot of people, murders that take place as a result of insurance policies, because you got people that will sit back and they will plot on you. They will sit back and they will look at the work you do. They look at the money you accumulate. They look at your 401k plan. They look at the insurance policies. And they start thinking, especially if dude or the wife is seeing somebody. And they actually start plotting to get you out of the way so that they can go on with their life. The wife grew older. He wanted a young 28-year-old thing. And they plotted to take the wife out to get the money and leave the country. See, but I'm not going to read the rest of this article. I'm going to put it on the bottom and you guys can read for yourself. But I told you guys, if you go back and watch my old video, which I'm going to put it on the bottom here, you guys would clearly hear me say this was a setup by the husband. It was a hit. The husband set that up because it made no sense to me how he could sit there. He didn't even attempt to drive off. If he was scared, if he had no weapon to defend himself or his wife, he should have just driven off. But instead, he stood there long enough for his wife to be robbed, stabbed, and then the woman, alleged woman with the baby, says, "Have a blessed night." So something was not with that story. Something wasn't right with it from the very giddy up. So I'm going to put the video on the bottom. I'm going to put this article on the bottom. Feedback, tell me what you think. And like I said, we're living in peerless times. We're living in very troubled times where in many cases you can't even trust the person that you lay down with. You can't trust that, man. You have to always be watchful, man, even if you're in a relationship or a marriage, because you have no idea who's actually plotting on you. Me, I pay attention to every little thing. I pay attention to body language. I pay attention to facial expression. I pay attention to the tones of the voice. You know, every little thing I pay attention to it. And if I have a question, I'm going to ask, like, what's going on? What's up with that? Right? And I'm going to put that in the back of my head. I'm going to always be aware. I try to stay 6 steps ahead. See? And there's a lot of women out there, a lot of black women that get intimidated when guys think 5 and 6 steps ahead of them, because they like to be ahead of the game. They don't like for the guy to have the upper hand on them, right? So this is a sad story, man, because in this image, she seemed like she could be a nice person. And he seemed like he could be a nice guy. But he was seeing someone else, his stepdaughter, that plotted to take this woman out, get her out of the way, so that they can live their life in another country. So feedback, tell me what you think. And listen, I want to say before I end this video, there's been quite a few videos that I made, and I listened to other videos, other YouTubers, and like little sayings that I say, and even little topics that I speak on. After I speak on certain topics, or there's little sayings that I may say, or quotes that I may get from the Bible, I started hearing other people quote those same things. For example, I made a video talking about a nigga moment. And I also made a video talking about the virtuous woman. Now, Nature Boy's videos, since I made that video, all I've been hearing was nigga moment, and now virtuous women. So listen, if you guys are going to take bits and pieces of what I say, at least give me some credit. At least, you know, give me a shout out or something. You know, you don't have to let them know you got it from me, but just give the brother a shout out if you're going to use some of the things that I say. You know, don't just, cause that's stealing, you know. And what he's doing, he's stealing bits and pieces of information from different YouTubers, and he's using it to make people think in his little camp, in his little following, that he's got all this wisdom and knowledge and he's getting it supernaturally from somewhere. But instead, he's listening to other people and taking bits and pieces of what people say, and he's applying it to his little cult setting. You know, so now all you hear them talk about is, you know, somebody being a virtuous woman, you know, or some type of nigga moment. Whereas before, you never heard that. I've never heard that. Okay, so I'm going to put the link to this article and the video on the bottom. Feedback, tell me what you think. And another thing too, Nature Boy or anyone else that's stealing the words that I say, if I say something and you steal those little sayings, at least click on the donate button and support this channel. Just don't come and take and not give. So click on the donate button, support this channel. Until next time, I'm fearless.